Shalom and good day all. This is Tehillim29 back again for another anime review of Hitman Reborn. I do apologize there for the technical difficulties that I had at the beginning there. It was totally unintended and it did not bode well, but let's see. Now it's time to jump into what I need to be here for, and that is covering the review of seasons 6 and 7 of Reborn. And my goodness, these last couple of seasons have been pretty interesting, and I must admit, I think the season 7 was probably the strongest out of these two. No pun intended into what season 6 is called, which is basically the strongest 7. Now, as you can see here, I've already prepared what we've got here. I'll be reviewing or covering, and that is season 6. So starting off with season 6 before I jump into season 7. The episode begins at around 141 and it finishes around 153, and it's really nice to get back to this series once again, as it has been really fun, and it won't be long until I'll be covering the last 2 seasons on this channel, which will be seasons 8 and 9. So, time to get down to my notes in regards to this season. So, season 6 opens us up with the strongest 7 story arc. Now, to start off, or the start of this season takes us back to the past 10 years, where Suna Sawada must now complete 7 trials within a period of a week. And this, of course, takes place after the present future arc of season 5, to where we catch up with Shoichi Ari and also what's happening there. So Suna basically returns back to the past to where he originally came from, and now he must complete these 7 trials, which delves in the area of the Arcobaleno. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And we learn that they were in the future for only 3 months, but when it translated to days that they were missing, it was 3 days that they were missing of the past. So when they turned up in the future arc, now the time is against them, and Suna must gain, or for Suna to gain the 7 seals from the 7 strongest Arcobaleno. So this is connected to all the characters that wear the pacifiers like Reborn, to which, in other words, the pacifiers take old characters and literally de-age them to where they look like a kid, like you see with Reborn, and that's why Yamamoto calls him as the kid. And we also learn that each of these pacifiers somewhat have their own somewhat power, and Suna is going to require this power to unlock something that he actually got from Shoichi Irie from the last season. So before anything must happen, he needs to go through this trial first. And it really goes to show the effort that was put into this trial. And by unlocking the seals, it also helps to unlock more power in the Vongola boss rings and also the Vongola Guardian rings. So if anything, it becomes a bit of a buff up for those items. Now, I tried to keep this as small as possible because the season of this one was actually quite small, around 12 to 13 episodes. So the first trial is by combat. The second trial covers the Guardians of Cloud, Mist, and Sky to go up against Skull's Arcobaleno Octopus, and that was really interesting as to what was happening there. And each test covered certain areas in regards for Suna Sawara. And not just Suna, but also the Guardians as well. So the third trial covers Mammon's test, where he says he has taken Kyoko hostage and is a test of adaptability. Now, moving into the fourth trial, it covers catching Master Fong, which the character does look a little bit like Habari, like a mini Habari, but with kick-ass reflexes, and is a test of leadership. And he is also a martial artist, and you also learn that he is also the teacher of Ipin. The fifth trial, to which we had a female Arcobaleno turn up, but in her case, she was actually older. She had sort of like not chosen the path to become like Reborn and some of the others that you see in the series. And her test was that of tolerance. And the name of her character was Arya. The sixth trial covers the Mongolian Guardians now to go up against Reborn on Namamori Island. And this was a test of leadership over all of the Guardians. Now, with the seventh test, it also coincided with the sixth test. And to which we had the character of Verde, who just wants everything he does to be done in regards and the name of science. And we also learned that Verde is also connected to the one group that is creating like the box weapons in the series, and it's really interesting. And even though that pact does get broken, his trial actually centers around Suna's intuition. So meaning, what does he pick up in his gut? Like what does he feel in regards to the environment, in regards to the situation, where a certain villain or thing might be. So it's helping to hone Suna's skills in trying to discern a situation in regards to something that might be out of place. So with the end of that, it's now time to jump into season 7 before I start to move into my afterthoughts. So I'll get things fixed up here so we can see season 7. And I do apologize for earlier. Once again, It was out of my control in regards to the technical difficulties at the beginning of this anime review. Just I didn't want it to happen, and I was really looking forward to giving this review to you, the audience. So as we can see here, the 7th season goes from episodes 154 all the way to 177. And my goodness, I did not expect this series or this season to sort of impact me the way it did. And my goodness, okay, I decided with this season to break it up into 4 parts into my review. So part one is covering, say, the first 6 episodes, and it's going to go all the way to part 4, which will be to like the last set of episodes. So the first couple of episodes establish of how Suna and the Vongola family have successfully returned to the future, with Reborn giving us a recap of what happened in season 5. Until the audience is finally met with the presence of Byakuran, who reveals the 6 funeral reefs are very much alive for the Vongola family to go up against his villainous family, which is called the Millefiori. The next couple of episodes lead Suna and the Vongola Guardians in learning the importance of rest before they start to open their weapons boxes, or the weapon boxes. With the help of Shoichi and Reborn, with the future base getting a ring alert, Suna goes to investigate to find out that it is Basil. And Basil is a character that you end up meeting in the Varia arc, or the beginning of the Varia arc. So, in other words, he's a character that was last seen in season 3. Or season 2, season 3. As the next episode approaches, Suna makes arrangements to take the Vongola Guardians along with Haru to see what their houses look like in the future. Reborn sees this experiencing of them going to Naminori to give them motivation for the upcoming events that lie ahead. And as we move into the next couple of episodes, so the last 6 episodes of the first part, we have one that centers around the character of Chrome Mukuro's growth, which is definitely in its own way brings a tear to the eye as it comes to what was done to help Chrome begin to break out of her shell. And as the next episode centers on Yamamoto. Moving into part 2, the beginning of these next 2 episodes revolve around the Vongola family guardians. Will they be able to take on Byakuran on the battlefield, as Shoichi explains the game called Choice? Similar, the only way that I could sort of make sense of the game of Choice is that it reminds me of a game called Risk, and to them, whilst this is happening, Basil has returned, Lamerch is in care, Reborn organizes the team to get up items of mobility to use on the battlefield. Chrome is starting to come out of her shell and is starting to take some more risks of her own. And I really enjoyed what was actually happening with the character of Chrome, because one of the characters you had no idea that would play a part in Chrome coming out of her shell was, spoiler of course, Ipin. And I didn't expect that would happen, but it was fantastic. Moving into the next part of part 2, our next 2 episodes center around the importance of the Vongola box weapons. To Reborn sets up the Guardians to be patient before they open their boxes, to open them up the following day, until things change and Suna gets a little bit hasty, causing some turmoil in the Vongola base. As the next episode begins, we have the arrival of Dino and his box weapon, which gets out of control. That crazy turtle of his. The next 2 episodes sets up to learn on how to use the box weapons, with Dino, Romario, Basil instructing them, with a hint on how Xanthus, with things in Italy on how they are going. As Haru and Kyoko also learn what is going in, the second episode brings us into a boycott from Haru and Kyoko without knowing the full complications of their actions in the future. By the time we move on to part 3, the beginning of these episodes bring us back to Byakuran once again, just after Suna had opened up and told the truth to Haru and Kyoko of what is going on, as one took it better than the other. And surprisingly, the one that took it better than Haru, surprisingly, the one that took it better between Haru and Kyoko was actually Kyoko, to which is why I sort of like Kyoko and Suna's relationship. Why, in some essence, they do actually, through this season, that they feel that they do come off better as a couple. But let's leave it here or there. It's time to get back to the review. Where one took it better than the other, Squallow makes his appearance at the base. The following episode starts to bring us into the preparation of the day of battle, where Byakuran has gotten his 6 funeral wreaths ready, as it is also time for Suna to get everyone ready, of who has been asked to be on the battlefield. Our next 2 episodes bring us to the beginning of Byakuran's game, being used against Suna and the Vongola family called Choice. Suna has drawn a card which takes them to the first battlefield, which it's based in the theme on lightning. The following episode, we have learned that Shoichi now has a target on his back, because this also connects to the game of choice as well. And with the target rules in play, which could lead to the death of a person if not kept unchecked, and this is a part of how the game of choice works. So in other words, if you take out the head, or to take out the one who has the target on their body, to which these targets are also connected to, like, desperation flames, and the person ends up losing and they lose the flame that's connected to it, it's game over. With the next 2 episodes, the battle has begun against Byakuran. With Shoichi as overseer over Suna, Yamamoto, and Gokudera, who are apparently on the battlefield, not knowing who will gain a loss or a victory. Yamamoto gets a reunion with a foe he once lost to, the Phantom Knight, And the battle continues in the next episode with Yamamoto still fighting against the Phantom Knight, to which we see his full transformation, which was seen again in Season 5. And I must admit, it was really nice to see this happen once again in regards to the character of the Phantom Knight. And this time, yes, now it's Yamamoto's time to get some full resolve against this enemy. And does he? We'll soon find out. Moving into part 4, the beginning of these next 2 episodes take us to the final assault on the Millefiori, with Byakuran as the head, or with Byakuran's choice at the head, who is a character called Daisy. And you learn that this character Daisy, well, when I get to the end of covering this part, you'll find out why. For Suna to obtain the 6 funeral wreaths of Byakuran and to complete the 7 free policy in the game of choice, where the loser hands over their rings, Kikyo and Gokudera finally encounter each other on the battlefield. Now, the character Kikyo uses their ring in a way to which they are able to use plants as an assault weapon, or as a weapon to attack a villain, but it can also be used in defense and offense. And it's very interesting in like seeing him go up against Gokudera, because he ends up stopping Gokudera from using his box weapons. And whilst they're encountering each other in battle, Yamamoto and Suna are still looking for their key target. As we move into the next episode, time is running short for both sides in the battle of choice, with Yamamoto trying to take out Byakuran's target on the map. Kikyo is trying to take out Shoichi on the map, while Suna is trying to escape an illusion by a foe, to which his name ends off, or has the name Kabuto in it. I think it was called Tori Kabuto. Forgive me if I don't remember all the names of the characters, but I do remember a lot of the action. I still haven't gotten to know the full character list of Byakuran yet, and understanding what each one is able to do. The next 2 episodes takes us to the battle against Byakuran and his Millefiori Mafia, who by deceit won against the Vongola family. Run by Suna Sawada, Shoichi begins to spill the beans as to why it is important to defeat Byakuran, Suna, and the Guardians, even to how he first encountered him. And in this series, we actually learn that there are parallel worlds, and how this also comes to be. And this connects to Shoichi getting a hold of something that's connected to Lambo. As much as people don't like Lambo, I think Lambo has actually had some really great scenes in these last couple of seasons. The character's growing on me. I must admit, they are growing on me. As we move into the next episode, Shoichi is told by Byakuran. Hold on, I forgot something. Where he first encountered him, learning of the parallel worlds, and to the times he encountered Byakuran once again. As we move into the next episode, Shoichi is told by Byakuran that the battle of choice is over until Uni, who is also connected to the Millefiori family, changes the stakes to which Suna is asked and accepts the role of as protector of Uni. The last two episodes takes us to after Shoichi has spilled the beans and we all know about Byakuran and also his encounters with Byakuran, even in the parallel universes. And now it is time for the Vongola to escape the area with Uni as the new journey begins to await them in the background. Squalo and the future version of Mukuro also come in to help to buy time for them to escape via the flame teleportation system. With the end of the second last episode, the Vongola family are returning back to base, and the last episode of the season brings us to Reborn, speaking to Lamerch, who gets a full recap of events that took place while she was in the Vongola care, trying to recover, who gets a full recap of events that took place in this season, also wanting to help increase the power level of the Vongola family and the Guardians and people that they are seeking to protect. My goodness, this really raised the stakes. And I mean, this season really raised the stakes for the Vongola family. Not only for the Vongola family, it also raised the stakes for Suna Sawada, because you learn that in this game of choice that, well, Suna lost against an opponent that was somewhat way smarter than him. You also learn that this opponent is also somehow able to learn from his experiences from parallel worlds, and it's like, holy crapola. Literally. So moving into the afterthoughts. So we're finally completing season 6 and the 13 episodes of this. It did its best to show the importance of time to complete the Arcobaleno trials. As in the process, we also learned of the Arcobaleno curse connected to the pacifiers that Reborn wears and other Arcobaleno who wear them. As this is a small season as it was, it isn't easy to say that it had some great moments, as the characters in this part of the story also had to acknowledge that they are dealing with a short amount of time to complete the trials. One of the best things about this season, about season 6, before moving on to season 7, one of the best things about this season was how Shoichi Ari of the past was asked to set up and also get a 10-year bazooka as well, and how Reborn had set up his trial near the end of the season, to which you learn that as the hitman that he is, that he needs to have a lot of patience, plus to take into consideration that there may be some foul play that could come from any of the Arcobaleno or the strongest 7. When things reached to Verde's trial, his key twist was on Suna's intuition, as I brought up earlier. Now, we're finally completing season 7, the 24 episodes to watch. Through the first part of the 7th season, it was really nice. It was a really nice beginning, as it centered on a character we don't get to see a lot of growth from, being Chrome Mukuro. As it was amazing to see how sometimes the biggest impacts can come even from one of the smallest characters, such as E-Pin, who also helped out in the previous season. Moving into the second part, we began to focus on Basil, to whom we haven't seen since the Varia arc. To finally the Guardians, including Suna, learning on how to use their Vengola box weapons. Jumping into the third part, we had Suna have to be open and vulnerable to people he didn't want to put their lives in danger. Even knowing that, he decided to tell them anyway. As things moved forward in these episodes, bringing us to the start of the game of choice against Byakuran. As to how Shoichi's choice in fighters for the battlefield will fare out in the overall confrontation, but last but not least, jumping into the fourth part, to where Uni appears and asking for Suna's help to defeat Byakuran, sharing even her knowledge of parallel universes in Reborn, in the series of Reborn, that Shoichi has been to, as well as events witnessed, the escape from the manufactured area, as we are all hearing, as well to hearing as to why Shoichi is so desperate to as to why Shoichi is so desperate to Byakuran, brings things to a whole new level of threat, to where Byakuran reminds him, where Byakuran reminds me of our Lorlet from Death Note, but if he was on the side of evil. Not good showing, and it's not good showing how dangerous Byakuran, plus his 6 millifor reach are. Now, one of the 6 reefs was called Daisy, to which we learned that this character Daisy is somewhat of an undead person who cannot die, and that is why he chose the character of Daisy. And yes, Daisy is a male character. In somewhat his appearance, he reminds me a little bit like Honey Senpai from Uran, but with a twist of evil character, because he also carries like a toy with him as well. Very crazy. So I'm definitely looking forward to the next upcoming seasons, or completing the next upcoming seasons. This story, the story of this was incredible, including seeing the Vengola family suffer from a loss and to learn to overcome it, and what will most likely be seen in the next seasons. I really felt a lot of the characters excelled in their parts, whether they were main character to supporting character, and the animation was pretty good too. So jumping into the rating, for the main characters of Season 6, it's 7.5 out of 10, but when it moved to Season 7, they get an 8 out of 10. For the supporting characters for Season 6, they got an 8 out of 10, and again for Season 7, an 8 out of 10. The animation, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10, and these stories combined together get an 8.5 out of 10 from me. I want to give a big thanks to Akira Amano and Crunchyroll, and until then, let's keep it colorful and have yourself an awesome day.